Greetings all, welcome to Music is a Journey. I'm Peter. This is episode 5 in my 6-part series on the albums of the band Opeth. I am taking a look at 2 or 3 albums at a time, picking out my favorite song from each of them and giving a little bit of a discussion of my impression on the album, plus filling in a bit of background information as well. When I first started this, I'd say like even the first 4 videos, all of the albums were albums I had listened to a lot, I really liked, I already knew what my favorite songs were, and I picked out, I just listened again just to confirm that my picks were the ones I was going to go with. In some cases, my opinion almost flip-flopped or wavered a little bit. When I first started, the only thing I did was to watch a couple of interviews with Michael Opeth just to get a little more background information, as well as, read the Wikipedia articles. However, since making the first video, I've been watching a number of tier ranking videos of Opeth, and it's been very interesting hearing the different opinions of different people. There is the block, I would say, from Still Life through to Ghost Reveries. Those albums everybody holds in high regard. Those albums are always appearing in the S tier or A tier, no questions asked. However, the albums on either side of that block, people have different opinions. Some people love them, some people really don't like them that much. I've heard people say, for example, Orchid was a really strong debut album, even though it's quite different from the way the band would go later. But then go on and say that Morning Rise was the sophomore slump for the band, whereas other people say Orchid was a weak start, but Morning Rise was an improvement. Such opinions throughout the catalog. But yeah, again, that set from Still Life through to Ghost Reveries, those 5 albums, flawless, virtually flawless in the minds and opinions of most people. So we're going to take a look today at the 2 albums, Deliverance and Damnation. These 2 were conceived originally as a double album to follow up Blackwater Park. The idea was that as the writing process continued, and I think the band was still in association with Steven Wilson as well, the idea was that a lot of mellower songs were coming out of the writing process, and they thought, well, why not, somebody suggested, why not do a double album, 1 heavy one and 1 light one? And so that's the way they worked while writing this album. Both albums were recorded during the same recording sessions. According to the Wikipedia article, they had some troubles with equipment going missing, or microphone stands being moved around, or settings being changed. So I don't know, maybe there was some kind of a mischievous poltergeist giving them a hard time. But anyway, when they approached the record company with the idea of the double album, the record company said, we don't want to release this as a double album. We'll release them individually, but we will release them a few months apart and give them both a lot of promotion. So Deliverance came out in November of 2002 and Damnation in April of 2003. Same lineup as the Blackwater Park lineup. But here's the interesting thing. When I got into Opeth, I think it was 12 or 13 years ago, and I was going through the catalog album by album, when I was reading about these 2, I was pretty interested in both of them because I heard that this one was supposed to be the heaviest album yet, and I thought Blackwater Park sounded pretty darn heavy. And this one was, the first album with no death growls, no metal. It was the prog album. So my experience, I was thinking this is going to be the exciting follow-up to Blackwater Park. And this is going to be similar to Heritage and Pale Communion. Neither of them lived up to the expectations I had for both of them, or either of them. And honestly, I was disappointed. I felt, it's a metal album, but the heaviness of the guitars, the guitar sound is simpler, it's more raw, it doesn't have that full metal sound like I felt with Blackwater Park or Ghost Reveries or Still Life. I felt it was a raw, simpler sound, maybe more like you would have heard a little bit earlier on in the history of heavy metal. But of course they still have the death growl vocals, and then there's an awful lot of chugging riffs on this album. Opeth don't chug very much. They usually have very long, complicated riffs or full open chord riffs, and this is a lot of the simple, going on here in quite a few of the tracks. As well, this album was supposed to be the heavy album, and all of the songs, except for Wreath, maybe. Wreath doesn't feature so much acoustic guitar, but the other long tracks, they all have these softer acoustic and clean guitar sections. And then, there's For Absent Friends. Yes, Genesis fans, your ears perk up. The instrumental for Absent Friends, it is just clean guitar, acoustic guitar, and bass. It's very mellow. What is it? A Fair Judgment, the track before that, is also pretty mellow. There are no death growls. There's not much distorted guitar. And the only real metal part is that slow, ominous riff that closes out the song. So honestly, I thought this is not as heavy as I expected it to be. And likewise with this one here, yes, it is a prog rock album without any metal elements, but it is not prog in the Heritage Pale Communion style. This is more like a 90s Porcupine Tree with a little bit of Camel or early soft King Crimson in there. So not what I expected. And honestly, in the beginning, I didn't really warm up to either of these two albums all that much. So, knowing that there are people, pretty much everybody I watched out there is saying what great albums these are, I thought I have to listen to them again. So that's what I did this last week here. I listened to once through, twice through, 3 times through, and then actually got back to Deliverance a 4th time as I came home from work last night. My opinions of these two albums really changed a lot. Again, starting out, what is my favorite track? I'm not really sure. And honestly, most of the songs on here, except for the instrumental for Absent Friends, most of the songs here are 10, 13 minutes long, and I don't know, what did I like about them? What was there? There were parts I liked, but did I actually like the whole track? But after, 4 listens, even I'd say like by the second listen, I wanted to hear it a 3rd time because I was liking the music. And after the 3rd time, I really wanted to hear it a 4th time. So this album has gone from me thinking, what's so great about it, to, wow, I really like it. And in fact, I think I'm quite familiar now with most of the tracks, and I would be happy to listen to it again. Well, even right now, if I could. So just a quick run through. Wreath, it is a long one and it has many parts to it. I think the second listen through I was thinking, when is this song going to end? They just keep going to another part and another part and another part. I like it a bit better now, though it's far from my favorite on the album. Deliverance, that is the big one everybody talks about, and it is a powerful, majestic song. It's heavy, it's majestic. It has also interesting, softer parts, but not in a gentle, delicate kind of way, but in a more kind of weird, progressive, time signature type way. And I really like that song. The ending does seem to carry on for a little bit long. Maybe, they go through that cycle of that, kind of odd time signature chugging riff, the full-on sound, that block there, they repeat it 3 times and then repeat the chugging part once more. So maybe it didn't need to be quite that long, but I'm kind of okay with that. A Fair Judgment, that's actually quite nice. I really am starting to like that one a lot more now, even though it's, the mellow track on the album. For Absent Friends is short, but it's very pretty. And then we have Masters Apprentices, which is named after the Australian band The Masters Apprentices. It starts out like this. So we're getting back into the heavy stuff. But very interestingly, it does go mellow in the middle, and it comes to the one point it does this. And this sounds like something from a Moody Blues album. That's really cool. So I really do like that track. But I think the track that I like best is By the Pain I See in Others, the final track on the album. It has a lot of different things going on. Again, this weird time signature acoustic guitar with the drums. Again, we've got the heavy stuff. We've got the growled vocals, clean vocals. We have this strange waltz part in the middle. Is it a waltz? Is it a polka? It has that um-pa-pa, um-pa-pa, um-pa-pa. Which I really think is an interesting addition. Also, the growled vocals in parts of the song here, it's like a growl, death growl whisper. And my image is like you're in this dimly lit hospital room and there's this old guy lying on the bed he looks really old, but somehow he looks like he still has power. And as you come close to him, his eyes open, and they're all kind of yellowish with a bit of a red tinge, and he beckons you with a crooked finger, come closer, and then he whispers in this like really phlegm-filled growling whisper in your ears. Yeah, cool. So anyway, the only thing I'm going to say that I don't particularly like about the track is how it ends, because everything comes to the last chord, guitars, bass, the drums, cymbals, and all that, and a piano. And then that piano is sustained for a full minute. After the guitars and drums have quieted down, the piano sustains its note for a full minute. There's a bit of fluty flute in one part. There is what sounds like a heavily reverbed recording of a piano lid closing. And then silence for another 2 or 3 minutes. And then we hear the vocal track for A Fair Judgment played backwards for a little bit, and then more silence, and then more backwards vocals, and at last the track ends. I think it's something like 5 minutes after the song is finished before the track finally concludes. It's what I call a time waster ending. I would have been happy if they just, boom, finish the track, the guitars and stuff fade out, the piano note holds on a little bit, maybe 10-15 seconds, and is gone. But it's the one disappointment. But again, this album has really been elevated. My opinion just lifted it way up. I really enjoy listening to this album now. So let's move along to Deliverance, to Damnation. And this, of course, the much lauded Opeth album with no metal guitars and no growly vocals. And like I said, it does remind me a lot of 90s Porcupine Tree with some Camel in there and a little bit of soft King Crimson and so on. Window Pane is often cited as the sublime track on the album. I do really like it. But, starting out listening to this, it was like, man, this album is really mellow. I mean, it's mellow and sorrowful. It's mellow in a lullaby kind of way. It's just mellow, mellow, mellow. I don't particularly like albums that are mellow through and through. And by the time we get to ending credits, the mellow instrumental, and then Weakness, the final track, which is the mellowest track on the whole album, I felt like, okay, this is why I don't like this album that much. But I listened to it a second time, and I started to think, okay, I like the tracks. Most of the tracks I'm happy to listen to as an individual track, or maybe on a mixed playlist. But a series of mellow tracks still is kind of a stretch for me. By the third time I listened to it, I thought, okay, now I'm really looking forward to each track, because now I know what the highlights are, what I like about each track, and I don't really mind that it's a mellow track following a mellow track. I like this. So, as with Deliverance, my opinion has really grown on this album. Like, I really like it now. I think it's a very good album with great songs on it, if that makes any sense. So, what do I like best? Well, again, most of the tracks on here now I really do enjoy. But I think I'm going to have to go with Closure, which is my pick because it's in the middle, and it is the track that actually has the most tension to it. It is the least mellow of the mellow tracks. It also has that, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, maybe it's an organ sound that sounds like an accordion in a way, but with an unsettling, kind of haunting or almost sinister feel to it, and then a slightly Egyptian kind of a feel to it. It's interesting like that because the rest of the album is so mellow. So this is where I feel the tension and darkness is in the music the most, whereas other tracks are more mellow and sorrowful. And then, of course, we have the dramatic ending with the hand percussion together with the drums, and again, that accordion synthesizer Egyptian type thing. The only thing I would say that I don't like about the track is the ending. In this case, the song just cuts. Like, it's not like they stop playing. It's the recording is cut and the next song starts. I'm not particularly keen on songs ending that way unless I feel that there's a good reason for it. I'm not really sure what the reason was for ending it this way. Why didn't they fade it out? Why didn't they just conclude it? Why didn't they segue or transition or something? I don't know. Maybe it's just a small detail though. So, yes, once again, Deliverance and Damnation. I thought a week ago, not really sure what all the excitement is about. Now it's like, great, really like this, really enjoy the songs. Hey, excellent work on this album as well. So, yeah, there you go. That's it. By the Pain I See in Others is my favorite, and Closure is my favorite. And that's it. I have 2 more Opeth albums to go. They are the 2 most recent ones, and I do need to listen to them a few times because Last Will and Testament I just got back in December. I've listened to it about 3 times through, plus a couple of tracks extra. I need to listen to the whole album again, maybe 2 or 3 times more. And then In Cauda Venenum never really grabbed me back in the day when I first got it. I've listened to the whole album. I think the Swedish one maybe twice, and the English one maybe twice. And it is only recently I finally picked out a track that I think might be my favorite. So I need to listen to both of those 2, probably at least 3 times through. I'm going to do that before I make the final video. Thank you very much for watching this one. Please leave any comments you like. What are your opinions about these albums? How do you feel about the Opeth catalog? Anything you want to say about the songs, albums, the band, whatever. I'll read and I will reply. Thanks for watching this video. Catch you in the next one all. Bye.